Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Buckeye Breakdown. Owen Smith here. Solo to start off. We may have Matthew joining as we get into things. But yeah, here after a Buckeye win, 45-0 over the Boilermakers. I think it's something that we expected. It's something that we were not too excited about heading into the week, but we just came off the Penn State win, and to me it was we got to carry over. We got to take this to the next level heading into the rest of November. All of our goals are still ahead of us. We had that weird Nebraska game. We have to head into that and have things together. Keep the foot on the pedal. Let's keep moving forward. So the Buckeyes did do that. I will admit this is one of those games. There's a lot of football ahead of us. There's a lot of things ahead. May have been, watching on the small screen later on into the second half. May have, went and ran some errands and done some other things. So full attention wasn't on the Buckeyes in the second half, but was able to, pick up on a few things. Defensive side of the ball. They tried the jack position, everybody. We've been asking for it. They gave that a shot. And then did it work? No, we can talk about that. But they seem to be continuing the rotation. I think Caden Curry led the defensive line in snaps, which, heading into the season, you have JT, you have Jack, you have those guys. And, clearly Caden Curry's playing deeper into the game and you want to get him more reps, but just a guy that you feel the presence of more and more, which is exciting because we need to be preparing for next year, but we need that depth going into the playoffs. And God forbid, something happens. He's the guy. I mean, I think he's the guy that can step up. Same thing with Kenyatta Jackson. Do you get the full experience? I don't know. We'll see how things go. But again, building towards something, whether it's this year or next year. But yeah, defense is looking good. It seems like I don't know if Nebraska was the straw that broke the camel's back, or if it was Oregon, and it was just we didn't really get to see it in the Nebraska game. But it certainly seems like Jim Knowles has full control now, which we weren't completely certain on. So either way. It's good to see that. So pitches a shutout. Of course, there were two field goals that were missed. One of them being a chip shot, which I still can't believe that Purdue went for or didn't go for that. Like, dude, you guys are a 37-point underdog on the road. You're at the what is it, 10-yard line, 8-yard line or so. Like, let's just go for it, man. What do you have to lose? Like, you're gonna lose 45-0 anyway. So at least give yourself a better chance. But I guess whatever, points are points, and they went for it and clearly didn't get that with the field goal there. So overall, again, not a lot to dive into here. I think there's some concerns, very little concerns, but there's some concerns on Will Howard, maybe on the deep ball. I think that's kind of the most common complaint, I guess we'll say, going on for the Buckeyes. But even then, man, like, he's doing pretty well. I think it was Kings of Columbus, which huge Kings of Columbus fan. So getting a lot of information from those types of people, not being on the beat or anything like that, where this is truly like analysis, right? Like we are fans that do our own analysis here. We watch the games, but we're not as in tune. But either way, they had I lost my track. I'll be completely honest. The solo pod lost the track. The computer's like acting a little weird, so I need to quit an application real quick. But either way, Buckeyes are rolling, baby. The Will Howard, the stat that I think was going around is like deep balls. I think out of 12, 30 yards or he's like 6 out of 12 on balls 30 yards or deeper. And that's 50%. I think that ranks pretty high percentage wise compared to a lot of the rest of the college football landscape. So either way, not too concerning to me. Not overly concerning there. But either way, so yeah, again, we can talk about it or we can move on and go, hey, there's going to be a lot of analysis and feelings and all the things coming up with IU in a couple of weeks, which crazy to think that we're now, if you would have told me at the beginning of the season that IU was going to be the toughest or the third toughest regular season game, I wouldn't have believed you. I would have thought that you were crazy. I would have said, I again, all the credit to Signetti, all the credit to IU and the program and the players and all of that. But definitely did not think that where they are at, that IU would be the third biggest challenge for the Buckeyes, but they will be, and they're the toughest challenge I think remaining on the the calendar. I think that you can make the case for the game, but I think that they are the toughest challenge, and they are the biggest hurdle of do you get to the Big Ten title or not? You took care of Penn State, but you did lose to Oregon, so if IU beats Ohio State, they're going to I most certainly be undefeated. They don't have a game this week, and then they play Purdue, so if they're beating Ohio State, they're certainly dog walking Purdue, but. Either way, yeah, they're the toughest challenge left. Clearly, the game is going to have its own emotional challenges as well. So let's just get into it. The main topic I wanted to talk about outside of kind of heading into Northwestern truly was to, hey, do we have any sort of concerns or more kind of confidence? I'll frame it that way. Like, what's your level of confidence on these, 10 or so topics? Briefly discuss it. And then again, like, we can talk about Wrigley Field, we can talk about Northwestern, or we can give everybody some time back in their day. Like, appreciate you listening. And we can come back and preview the IU game next week after the win out at Wrigley Field. But I'll start here. O-line. I'm going to say, confidence 1 out of 10. How are you feeling about each of these subjects? O-line to me looked pretty good. I think, again, I'm going back to it. I don't know how this wasn't the original plan. I know you wanted to keep Donovan Jackson, I'm sure, for his own NFL prospects and all of that. Like, he wanted to remain in that spot. I'm sure his family did and all of that. But I just don't know how you looked at Zen and how you looked at the rest of the personnel and went, yeah, we're not going to move our 5-star guard over, our veteran 5-star guard over, given the lack of other options, right? It's either you go to true freshman like Ian Moore, who is a true tackle, or you're putting, again, a fourth-year guy that isn't really established, or you're moving some sort of other guard out there. But O-line confidence, I would say, did well against Penn State, Abdul Carter, all the prospects there. I'd say a 7 out of 10. Like, there's room for progress, right? Like, I don't think that this clearly isn't. If Josh Simmons in that line was a 9 out of 10, which I think is a fair representation, I don't know if you ever get to a 9 out of 10, but I don't think that you dip below a 7. So maybe 7.5, maybe 8. But I don't think that you get back to that. I think that this is going to be as good as it is. Hensman's taking care of business. Thank the Lord that's not a terrible. It looked like it was a bad injury. It was like, oh, well, there we go. That was fun for a game and a half. So you had that. But either way, just overall, Hensman's looking pretty good. McLaughlin is looking very good. Everybody else is kind of holding their own. Jackson's doing a good job on the left tackle position there. So confidence on the offensive line would be a 7 out of 10. Like I said, maximum maybe 8.5 out of 10 is what they can kind of build towards, because I don't think that you're better than Josh Simmons and Donovan Jackson on the left side of the line, or as good, I should say. Will Howard, confidence out of 10. I think I'm going to go with an 8. I think that there is room for, and he's such an established player that I don't think that the deep ball is going to get better, but there's room for, I don't know, maybe little things, or Maybe it's maybe better decision making. I'm not completely sure. I think from what I've heard, what I've seen, it seems to be more of a mechanics issue, like just the way that he throws the ball. It's just maybe he forces it more. I don't know what exactly it is, but I'm not concerned about that. I'm less concerned. It's wonky. You certainly want it, but he can do all the other things. He's mobile. He may slip once or twice, but that may be an Ohio State field issue and turf issue rather than it being Will Howard issue. But you are playing two very important games in there, and you could be, depending on what happens again between those games and also what happens in the Big Ten title game. If you were to get to that, you may be playing in there in December with a home playoff game. So you've got at least two big games left in that, and could be looking at least or could be looking at three big games in the shoe. So with that being said, you do have to be cautious of it, and hopefully there's some cleats or something that make a change on that. But overall, he's excuse me, he's mobile. His decision making overall seems to be pretty well. I did question a couple of decisions that he made in the past game or two, but overall, as much as you can ask for a college quarterback, and he just has that will to win. Not to make a pun of his name, but I mean, the dude seriously gives me the confidence that like he's gonna make something happen. Again, maybe he forces something, and that certainly can happen, but he just seems like he is willing to put the team on his back and willing to, really move things forward and not give up ultimately, like not pout on the sideline or anything like that. Like he will be back in the game with that same level of fire after throwing a pick six or anything like that. Ryan Day, 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. I think maybe after Oregon, you're at I'm sure a lot of the fan base was at a 2 or a 3. I think after Oregon, you're maybe at a 6, maybe at a 7. But then after Penn State, that elevates back up to an 8. And depending on what happens with IU, if he can get another notch in the belt for the game, then I think you're feeling pretty good. And then let's play some revenge ball in Indianapolis. So I think you can get to a 9. I think you can get to a 10. Like this guy is legit. I think I've definitely had some thoughts, and not proud of all of them, but certainly have thought about that, and have said some things. I won't lie. But yeah, I think right now at 8 out of 10, I think it's fair. I think Chip Kelly and Jim Knowles, I had them as separate line items. I'm just going to group all the coaching together as it stands right now. 8 out of 10. I think Jim Knowles has full has full control of his defense now. We see that with the jack position being temporarily, I think it was 4 or 5 plays, temporarily shown, but I think that he just seems to have more of an influence, seems to be scheming some things up. I think building up towards the end of this year. And yeah, just has figured some things out from the Oregon game and has had more time to prepare there. And then same thing with Chip Kelly, like again, probably learned some things in the Oregon game. And yeah, just has spent time scheming up more and being able to focus in on that, start showing some things more, using his weapons, all of that. So would feel about that. Now, gonna now shift it to not just individual players, coaches, units, whatever, more of like confidence heading into IU, confidence into heading into the game, confidence, hypothetically, we win both of those and we go to the Big Ten championship. And then I'm not going to play out all the scenarios with playoff games and all that. I'm just going to go for natty. Okay. So how confident am I on each individual pieces of this? So IU game. Should I say 9.5 out of 10? Should I say 10 out of 10? I don't know. I mean, IU struggled. I watched a good portion. I probably watched more of that game than I did, or at least the second half. Probably, I certainly watched more of the second half of that game than I did the Buckeyes game. And again, that's just because, doing some other things, right? Life goes on. IU game, though, 9.5 out of 10. I think just because again, and I'm from Indiana. That's, I am surrounded by IU fans. I'm surrounded about a lot of people that are coming out of the woodworks that claim that they've been in for IU football all along. Meanwhile, they were talking about how they were just a basketball school, 5 years ago. And even then, boy, have they really even been a basketball school. But either way, they're a football school now as long as Signetti is there. And yeah, I mean, they look good, and I'm happy for them. And, I'm maybe rooting on some accounts, right? Like some things I may be cheering for them, but yeah, for the most part, it's like I can see the flaws. I can see the schedule flaw. I think is they took care. Hey, listen, the players and the coaches are not responsible for what was on the schedule for 2024, how it laid out. But they've taken care of some decent opponents. I think, of course, the team up north isn't great. 5 losses this year, which thank the Lord we get to watch that. But that still it is the team up north, and it is the brand of the team up north, and the athletes specifically on the defensive side of the ball. But IU struggled at home for their biggest home game of the year, other than maybe Purdue, right? Like for the old Oak and Buck. But yeah. I think the Buckeyes got this one. I think they have not played Ohio State. It's a noon game. Is the crowd going to be as energetic as the next week? No, but it is going to be a top 5 matchup just based on how the cards are laying out now. I think they're AP top 5 right now. Will probably be the 5th team in the college football playoff picture. Could be potentially higher, maybe. I don't know how they'll look at it after that win. But either way, I just sit here and I go, again, biggest challenge. I just think that the Buckeyes got it. I think that they haven't faced a Will Howard and a Trevion Henderson and a Quinshon Judkins and a Jeremiah Smith and a Emeka Ibuka and a Carnell Tate and a offensive line of that stature. Again, maybe Michigan, maybe some of these other teams have parts of Ohio State, but they don't have it all. Oh, and that's just on one side of the ball. Michigan didn't have their best players on the defense, but either way, Caleb down. I don't need to run through the whole roster. They have not played a complete team. Because of how the schedule is laid out for Ohio State, they've had Purdue, they've had Northwestern. They come back home. They know what they need to take care of. They have a top 5 matchup, and then they have the team up north, and that's a huge revenge opportunity for them. I don't think they're going to overlook either of them. I think that they've known what they've had since that Oregon game, what was ahead of them. They had some sleepers, but yeah, man, get in and out, get out of Chicago healthy. So IU game, I'm going to go 9.5 out of 10. V game, I'm going to go 9 out of 10 because I'm respecting the rivalry and I'm respecting the game. I think X's and O's, all the things. IU is clearly the tougher challenge. So, to say that there's just so much more to this. And again, for respect out of it, now, trust me, 9 out of 10 still very high. That's higher than I was on the coaches, on Will Howard, on O-line, etc. But out of respect for the rivalry, there's still that component. Who knows? This is their Super Bowl. This is all that they can hang their season on. They're dancing with not even being a bowl eligible. They're certainly out of the playoff picture. Even if they are bowl eligible, they aren't playing any of the good bowls outside of the playoffs. This is their Super Bowl. This is a lot of people's last opportunities. A lot of those guys aren't going to play in the bowl game because of draft eligibility. This is nothing to lose. They're going to be a 17 and a half, 20 point, dog. Like, just throw it all out there. Bring back Connor Stallions to do some scouting and just leave it all out on the field and in the meeting rooms, because it's going to be a long winter watching at least 3, if not 4 Big Ten teams go to the playoffs. And a very good chance that a Big Ten team wins the national championship, and one of those could be your major rival. So again, nothing to lose for them, outside of course probably bowl eligibility at that point. But either way, out of respect, I will say confidence level 9. But again, leaving that one little point, that one little inch there for the respect for the rivalry. So that's confidence level there. Okay. Hypothetical on the next 2, because they aren't officially on the schedule, but they are ahead of us, and they are huge goals for the Buckeyes. If they beat IU, if they beat the team up north, assuming, dear God, they beat Northwestern. If they don't, or this is pointless. But either way, Big Ten title game is the next biggest thing. Most likely a rematch with Oregon. This will be in Indianapolis. Again, I'm from here. I have had the privilege of going to a Big Ten championship. Actually, no, I haven't. I am lying. I have not been to a Big Ten championship, but I do know that they travel pretty well, or that the Buckeyes always travel well. It's been a long time. It's been 3 or 4 years since the last one, but which is crazy to think about, because I think even the last one, there weren't any fans at that, or very limited fans, being in 2020. So it's been a long time. So there's a lot of Indianapolis-based Buckeyes, but of course, Columbus is only a 2.5-hour drive. Most of Ohio is within a pretty decent radius of drivable, and whether they stay downtown or not. Either way, it will definitely skew towards an Ohio State favored crowd. It's in a dome, so things are more on. It's not in the shoe, so the sound stays within. It's 70,000, so again, you get a little more of a ruckus crowd. It's a night game, and it's gonna be, of course, there's, even if they were to lose that game, they have a chance in the playoffs. But it is a very much, going to be Ohio State's biggest game of the year, leading up to it, with what's on the line. So either way, now we got to talk confidence about that. All things considered, confidence level 7.5, 8, somewhere in there, 7 to 8. Yeah, just overall confident in the Buckeyes, especially if they take care of it, but leaving a lot more respect for Oregon. And they certainly can lose that game and be okay, but they've already done it right. Now they had Autzen, they had all the things, right? They had a lot on their side. They played their A game compared to Ohio State probably playing their B- C+ game on the road in that environment. So, but they've done it, right? They have the confidence, they have the coach, they have the swagger, they have the players. They've exposed us before in certain areas. So leaving a lot more respect on the table there. But I do think in a revenge rematch in a home environment in Indianapolis, where they have to travel 2.5 hours by bus, or, clearly they're probably flying, I think. I don't know how their logistics are for the Big Ten championship. And staying in the same time zone versus Oregon having to travel, multiple time zones. Haven't really I'll check. I don't think they've ever played in Indianapolis. They played in West Lafayette for the Purdue game earlier this season, probably a month ago at this point, or a little less than a month ago, probably 2 or 3 weeks. So they've traveled to Indiana, but West Lafayette, if you're from here or from the area, that's not Indianapolis. So first time playing in that environment. Again, just there's some of the unfamiliarity versus the Buckeyes easy drive and all that. Not that matters too much because ultimately the players and the coaches and all of that, but just starts to give you the edge for the Buckeyes there. And coming off I'll have to look. I'll pull up Oregon's schedule, but I mean, you're talking about, having to play your best football leading up towards it versus I'll pull up Oregon's schedule just to check myself a little bit here. But Oregon may not be challenged as much. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a bye week, right? Or no, I don't know. So you're talking about Wisconsin on the road, which, Wisconsin is a manageable team, but they're still 5-4. So a night game for Wisconsin on the road, and then you have Washington at home. So it's like you're kind of playing the Northwestern Purdue portion of your schedule, right? Like you kind of haven't been challenged since Ohio State, Makes you think, right? Like their schedule. So you go from Ohio State, you play Purdue on the road, take care of business, 35-0. You play at that point ranked Illinois, beat them 38-9, but Illinois has turned out not to be what we thought they were. You travel to Michigan, you take care of business, you win that game, but again, Michigan, right? And then you play Maryland, you play Wisconsin, you play Washington. Yeah, just not the lead up, right? Not the progressive build up, right? Again, Michigan's definitely certainly multiple notches below IU. I guess only a 1-score difference in the game actually, but you kind of have this steady ramp where it's like, yeah, we kind of ramp to Penn State, we take a little plateau, and then we kind of just gradually go into the Big Ten championship. So again, for better or for worse, but I certainly give that the edge there to the Buckeyes. So that's why the confidence level, I think I'll settle on an 8. I'll settle on an 8 for the Big Ten title. Okay. A lot ahead of us. There's a lot in front of us here, but I'll give the final thoughts here for the national championship. As it's standing today, I will go 7 out of 10, firm 7 out of 10, no in between, nothing. I think depending on how you look against IU will certainly send that number up a little bit. But there's so much damn football ahead, right? Like, I hate to keep saying that, but it's like you do have to win the Big Ten title, and then who knows, man? This is the first year. Like you certainly can't show up to the playoffs and have not make the semifinals, right? Like you got to at least get to the semifinals, but man, there's a lot of good football teams ahead of you. And it's just going to be crazy. It's going to be like nothing we've seen before because we haven't seen it before. So, Natty, I think that when we look at it, when you look at the odds, Ohio State, Oregon are the top 2 teams on the odds boards. And so overall, I think that the confidence may be higher for some people, but to me, man, there's just so much there's so much in between here and then, and I'm not on the Natty or bus train. I will definitely be upset if there is not a national championship. Do not get me wrong. With the roster we have, the coaches we have, all of that stuff, but I am not in a fire Ryan Day mood or any sort of talk like that. If we can at least make it to the semifinals, so. We will see, but confidence level 7 out of 10. Okay, Northwestern this week. We're going to Wrigley Field. That is a noon kickoff, noon games from Nebraska on. So yippee! Thank you, Fox. Very excited for it. But either way, very confident that we will be back to recap that next Monday. And then we will be, putting a lot more time in actually not talking hypotheticals, but where are we standing with the IU game? How confident are we? We'll have a lot more kind of to talk about there. So thank you everybody for listening. We will again be back next Monday. As always, follow us on Twitter, follow us here and subscribe here, like, comment, and join us live next Monday at 8:15. We'll see you.